Good morning, everyone. My name is Valerie, and it's good to be with you as we start the day. This last weekend, we wrapped up our series on the life of Joseph, and I have enjoyed this series so much. So many of you have told me that you feel like this series was put in your life at just the right moment, and I feel that way too. And as we wrap up this series, I want to go back a couple weeks to a two-word phrase that Renee reminded us of in the life of Joseph. And those two words are but God. And this morning I want to share with you just one more but God verse from the life of Joseph. And this comes at the very end of his life from Genesis 50, verse 24. Then Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will surely come to your aid and take you up out of this land into the land promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and even to their father, Jacob. Can you imagine how worried his brothers were to realize that Joseph was going to die? They're still strangers in this strange land of Egypt, and they're about to lose their protector and their provider. And Joseph must have understood this, and so he reminds them, but God will surely come to your aid. And not only will he come to your aid, he will keep that promise. He will keep that promise he made to our dad and our ancestors. Now we know that Joseph's descendants ended up in Egypt for 400 years and they were cast into slavery, but God did come to their aid. God did keep his promise eventually, and he will keep his promise to you too. It may take some time. You may not even see it in your lifetime, but God is playing the long game. Let me take you to a verse in the New Testament, to the end of Hebrews 11, the faith chapter. And this comes in verse 39, saying, these were all commended for their faith. All these names that have been listed, they were all commended for their faith. Yet, none of them received what they had been promised, since God had planned something better for us, all of us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect. Sometimes we just don't see the fulfillment of that promise. We live in the hope of it, but God is still faithful. Jacob didn't see the promised land. Joseph didn't see the promised land. Joseph's brothers didn't see the promised land. Their great-great-great-great-grandkids didn't see the promised land. But God was still faithful. God used Jacob, God used Joseph, God used his brothers to set up the miracle of the Exodus. As Hebrews said, God had planned something better that involved everybody, future generations, that in community together, God's promise would be fulfilled and he would work. I hope this encourages you today. You and I may be the generation that's called to live in hope of the promise fulfilled. We may be the ones called to wait, but even in the wait, God will surely come to your aid. Blessings on your day. I hope that you sense God's presence with you and his love for you. I'll see you at church.